Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant's biggest weakness is not his scoring, but his reliance on super teams. When he left Oklahoma City and joined the Golden State Warriors in 2016, it created a perception that he took the easiest route possible to win. Even though he dominated in the finals, fans and analysts argued that context, not competition, defined those rings. Later, his attempt to form a dynasty in Brooklyn with Kyrie Irving and James Harden collapsed because of injuries and chemistry issues, leaving no championships and constant criticism. Now in Phoenix, the same label follows him, as disappointing playoff runs feed into the narrative that he can't carry a team without stacking stars around him. Durant's game is unmatched, but his decisions keep sparking the same debate. Is he truly leading or just riding alongside elite teammates? That shadow continues to be his greatest weakness, no matter how great his talent. Giannis Antetokounmpo. Giannis Antetokounmpo's biggest weakness has always been his jump shot. Defenders back off, daring him to shoot because his three-point percentage remains poor and his mechanics are slow and inconsistent. Even in 2025, he's hitting under 20% from deep, and teams know they can wall off the paint without worrying about his perimeter game. His free throw stroke struggles with the same issues, a long, deliberate routine that leads to streaky results. In the playoffs, this weakness becomes glaring, as opponents like the Miami Heat or Toronto Raptors form a wall in front of him. Giannis is still one of the most dominant paint scorers the league has ever seen, but without a dependable jumper, his offensive versatility is capped. At 30 years old, the weakness remains, and until it improves, it will always be the easiest way to defend him. Joel Embiid. Joel Embiid's greatest weakness is not skill or effort, but injuries. From the start of his career, his health has defined his story as much as his dominance. He missed his first 2 full seasons with a foot injury, and since then, he's never played all 82 games. Knee problems, torn meniscus injuries, concussions, and even facial fractures have kept him sidelined at the worst possible times. The Philadelphia 76ers constantly use load management to preserve him, but when the playoffs arrive, the injury concerns return. Embiid's 7-foot frame and physical playstyle take a toll, making his body break down season after season. No one doubts his ability to score inside, defend the paint, and change games. As long as his health fails at crucial moments, his career will always be haunted by the question of whether his body can hold up long enough. LeBron James. LeBron James's biggest weakness in his otherwise legendary career has been the Golden State Warriors. For 4 straight years, he met them in the NBA Finals, and the results hurt his legacy. In 2015, despite averaging over 35 points per game, his Cavaliers lost in 6 games. In 2016, he pulled off the miracle 3-1 comeback, but once Kevin Durant joined Golden State, it became nearly impossible. The Warriors crushed LeBron's teams in 2017 and 2018, winning convincingly while neutralizing even his best efforts. That one win in 4 tries became a permanent scar on his finals record. Fans still use those losses as an argument against him in the greatest of all time conversation. The Warriors were the one opponent he could not consistently overcome, and that inability to get past them has become the most notable weakness of his entire career. His dominance elsewhere only makes those failures stand out more. Stephen Curry. Stephen Curry's greatest weakness is his defense. While his shooting revolutionized basketball and made him one of the greatest offensive players ever, opponents attack him constantly on the other end of the floor. At 6'2" and under 190 pounds, he struggles against bigger, stronger players who can shoot right over him or bully him in the paint. Even with quick hands that generate steals, his defensive rating shows how vulnerable he can be. Opponents score more efficiently when he's on the floor, and Golden State often has to design defensive schemes to cover for him. Curry's offense is so historic that it usually outweighs the weakness, but defense has always been the flaw rivals try to exploit. It's the one area of his game that never matches his offensive greatness. Nikola Jokic. Nikola Jokic's clearest weakness is his lack of athleticism. From the time he entered the NBA, scouts noted his slow foot speed, limited vertical, and lack of explosive burst. Even today, opponents try to exploit him in pick-and-roll situations, forcing him to defend quicker guards where his lateral quickness is exposed. At the rim, Jokic is not known as an elite shot blocker, and while his positioning is strong, he doesn't rack up highlight defensive plays. Teams often see him as a target defensively, even if he uses intelligence to minimize damage. His limited leaping ability and speed are glaring compared to other superstar big men. Despite his MVP level skills, basketball IQ, and unmatched playmaking, Jokic's athletic limitations remain the easiest weakness to circle on a scouting report. It hasn't stopped him from dominating, but it is the one flaw every opponent tries to attack whenever they face the Nuggets: Jayson Tatum. Jayson Tatum's biggest weakness is the perception that he is carried by his teammates. Even after leading Boston to a championship in 2024, critics claimed Jaylen Brown, who won Finals MVP, was the real driving force. Tatum averaged strong numbers in the playoffs, but his calm demeanor and lack of fiery outbursts often lead to the impression that he isn't the alpha. Unlike players such as Luka Doncic or Nikola Jokic, who visibly carry weaker rosters, Tatum plays on a team with depth, which fuels the narrative that he isn't shouldering the load alone. Every big game he plays well is often dismissed as a team effort rather than his leadership. While the carried label may not be fair, it has become the most persistent criticism he faces. As long as Boston's roster remains stacked, that perception will continue to be his greatest weakness in the eyes of many fans. Anthony Davis. Anthony Davis's biggest weakness is his inability to stay healthy. Every season seems to feature a new setback, from groin strains to MCL sprains, Achilles concerns, and back problems. Since his championship with the Lakers in 2020, he has not played more than 62 games in a season. Now with Dallas, the story remains the same. He's already missed weeks with a strained adductor, and his absences make it difficult for his team to build chemistry. When Davis is on the floor, he is one of the best two-way players in basketball, shutting down the paint defensively and providing elite scoring inside and outside. His talent is undeniable, but his durability is just as questionable. Until he can stay consistently available, injuries will remain his defining weakness and the biggest obstacle preventing him from reaching his full potential. Kawhi Leonard. Kawhi Leonard's greatest weakness is his availability. He is one of the best two-way players in the game, capable of locking down opponents on defense and taking over offensively with surgical mid-range scoring. Yet time and time again, injuries and load management have kept him off the court. Since tearing his ACL in 2021, he has struggled to put together a fully healthy season. Even when he plays, the uncertainty about whether he'll finish the season looms over the Clippers. Fans and analysts often say that his body just can't handle the grind, and that lack of consistent presence has made his career feel incomplete. Damian Lillard. Damian Lillard's biggest weakness is the lack of a championship ring. He has hit iconic buzzer beaters, dropped 50-point playoff games, and earned 9 All-Star appearances. But when conversations shift to the greatest point guards ever, the missing ring is always brought up. In Portland, his loyalty became legendary, yet it also kept him on teams that could never seriously contend. Now in Milwaukee, he has more help and even lifted the NBA Cup. But fans quickly remind everyone that it is not the same as an NBA championship. Lillard's resume has individual greatness, yet the absence of a finals trophy overshadows everything. Every accomplishment feels incomplete until he secures that elusive ring. It is the one flaw constantly mentioned when debating his place in history. Rings are the ultimate currency in basketball, and until he wins one, that gap remains his biggest weakness. But first, only cool people are subscribed to this channel, so hit that subscribe button before we go any further. Jimmy Butler. Jimmy Butler's greatest weakness is his fiery personality, which has both elevated teams and fractured them. His intense leadership style drives teammates to match his energy, but it often comes across as too harsh. In Minnesota, his infamous practice clash with Karl Anthony Towns and Andrew Wiggins led to a quick exit. In Philadelphia, reports of locker room tension and disagreements with the coaching staff pushed him out again. Even in Miami, where the Heat culture fit him best, Butler has had visible blow-ups on the sideline, including shouting matches with Eric Spoelstra and Udonis Haslem. While his demanding nature fuels incredible playoff performances, the same edge alienates teammates and potential free agents. Some players embrace the tough love, while others tune it out. Butler's talent is undeniable, but his weakness is clear. His personality can divide as much as it unites, and that instability has haunted every stop in his career. Draymond Green. Draymond Green's biggest weakness is his inability to control his emotions. His defensive brilliance and leadership have been vital to Golden State's dynasty, but his emotional outbursts have often cost his team dearly. Green ranks second all-time in ejections with 21, and his technical fouls remain among the league's highest every season. In 2024, he was suspended for 12 games after striking Jusuf Nurkic, costing him millions in lost salary. His infamous punch of Jordan Poole in 2022 also fractured locker room chemistry and raised doubts about his leadership. Even though Green has worked with mental health professionals to manage his temper, his flare-ups continue. Golden State thrives when he channels his fire, but collapses when he loses control. His weakness is not talent, it is discipline. Until he proves he can keep his composure in crucial moments, his emotions will remain his most damaging flaw, holding his team back from success Luka Doncic. Luka Doncic's biggest weakness is his constant complaining to referees. No superstar argues more, and in 2024, he even led the league with 19 technical fouls. His focus often shifts from running the offense to pleading for calls, which kills momentum and frustrates teammates. On multiple occasions, Luka has even been ejected from games because of his behavior, leaving his team shorthanded during critical moments. Officials have also grown tired of the constant arguing, which can hurt him in close games where calls could go either way. Coaches and teammates have begged him to cut back, and Luka himself admits it is a problem, but the habit remains. His talent is unquestioned, with scoring and passing skills few can match, but this weakness damages his leadership image. Until Luka stops letting officiating dominate his emotions, referees will continue to use it against him, and it will remain his glaring flaw. Anthony Edwards. Anthony Edwards' greatest weakness is the impossible hype he is compared against. Since his breakout, fans and analysts have constantly linked him to Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant, which sets unrealistic expectations for a 23-year-old. Edwards is already an all-star with averages of nearly 26 points, 5 rebounds, and 5 assists, but critics measure him against legends who were MVPs and champions by his age. When he struggles, like his 6 for 24 shooting night in a Game 7 against Denver, the backlash explodes. The weight of comparisons means every off night gets exaggerated. Edwards himself embraces the spotlight with confidence, but even his best games sometimes look underwhelming when stacked against Jordan or Kobe standards. His talent is undeniable, but his weakness is how hype magnifies every mistake. Until the comparisons cool off, he will continue battling the shadow of unrealistic expectations, making hype itself his greatest obstacle to long-term success. Ja Morant. Ja Morant's biggest weakness is his unreliable three-point shooting. While he is one of the most explosive drivers in the NBA, his jumper has not developed enough to keep defenses honest. Shooting just above 32% from deep on 4 attempts per game, opponents simply sag off him and clog the paint. Golden State and Denver have exposed this weakness in playoff matchups, daring him to shoot pull-ups he cannot hit consistently. His catch-and-shoot numbers are slightly better, but his off-the-dribble threes are erratic and often stall possessions. This allows defenses to neutralize his biggest strength, attacking the rim, because they do not fear his outside shot. At age 25, he still has time to improve, but his offensive ceiling is capped until he adds a reliable jumper. Explosiveness alone makes him spectacular, but shooting separates stars from legends. And until that changes, his jumper remains his clear weakness. Jaylen Brown. Jaylen Brown's greatest weakness is his unreliable left hand, and defenses know it. During the 2023 Eastern Conference Finals, Miami defenders openly admitted their strategy was to force Brown left, and it worked. He lost the ball on crossovers, missed finishes, and struggled to create rhythm. The weakness became a talking point across the league, especially after Brown signed a massive contract extension. Critics argued that for a player of his stature, such a basic flaw should not exist. Brown has worked to improve it, even wearing a glove on his left hand during the 2024 dunk contest as a statement, but the issue persists. Defenders pressure him into turnovers whenever he leans left, and it disrupts Boston's offense in high-stakes games. Brown remains an elite athlete and scorer, but his weakness is clear and simple. Until he develops confidence in his left hand, defenses will continue exploiting it mercilessly. Karl Anthony Towns. Karl Anthony Towns' biggest weakness is foul trouble. Despite being a skilled offensive big man who can stretch the floor, his tendency to commit cheap fouls undermines his value. This season, he has averaged nearly 4 fouls per game, leading the league. Whistles pile up on illegal screens, reach-ins, and defensive missteps in the paint. As a result, he spends too much time on the bench, unable to stay on the floor when his team needs him most. Offensively, early fouls kill his rhythm, and defensively, opponents know they can attack him to force mistakes. The Knicks depend on his scoring and rebounding, but foul issues repeatedly cut his minutes and cost the team games. Coaches stress discipline, yet the problem remains. Until Towns proves he can stay out of foul trouble, his weakness will define him, overshadowing his offensive talent and making him a liability in crucial matchups. Paul George. Paul George's greatest weakness this season has been his lack of production with the Philadelphia 76ers. Brought in to be the third star alongside Joel Embiid and Tyrese Maxey, George instead posted his lowest scoring average in over a decade, just 16 points per game. Injuries played a role with groin soreness, knee issues, and a finger problem limiting him to only 41 games. Still, even when healthy, he struggled to step up in big moments, especially when Embiid sat out. Shooting percentages dipped below expectations, and fans quickly questioned whether age had caught up to him at 34. For a player on a max contract, the gap between salary and performance has been glaring. George still has moments of brilliance, but inconsistency defines his season. His weakness is no longer defense or efficiency, it is availability and consistent scoring. If that does not change soon, his decline may become permanent. If you like this video, consider watching this next one, which YouTube thinks you are going to really love.